Hi there, Tad Hargrave from Marketing for Hippies, and I'm here with idea number 23 from my book, The Niching Nest. So this idea, really simple: limits are not your enemy. Gosh, there's a lot that could be said about this, but I'll try to keep it relevant to niching. So this is one of the biggest things I hear as a challenge to niching. Well, I'm going to lose people, that somehow by picking a niche, by picking some specialty in terms of what we do, how we do it, or for whom we do it, or when we do it, or where we do it, by making some definite, clear choices about that we're going to put these limits on our business, which will mean less business in the end. That's the fear. And so limits really become the enemy. And of course, just in modern culture, this is the whole thing. Limits are absolutely the enemy of our freedom. And, we say we want a lot of things, but at the end of the day, I think in modern culture, we want our individual freedom more than just about anything. And so anything that would constrain our freedom becomes the enemy that needs to be overcome. And again, we could just talk about that for days and the consequence that that's had on the world, when the limits of the natural world become something to constantly get over and surpass. But, particular to niching, it's just good to know this isn't the enemy to have a focus. This helps you. Limits in niching don't so much confine you as they define you. And it's helpful to have some definition because most of marketing works through word of mouth. People, talking about stuff. So they'll say, oh yeah, I used to get migraines and I went to see this person and they were really helpful. I used to have this autoimmune condition and I really don't anymore because of this person. So you see what I'm saying? There's a definition, there's a real clear something they're talking about. But here's what never happens. Nobody ever says, yeah, I went to see this generic holistic practitioner and it was neat. Yeah, they did some stuff. I didn't really feel it at the time, but I'm sure it helped. This doesn't happen. When it's really fuzzy, when there's no sense of definition of what people do, when there's no limit to it, when it's just, well, I help everyone with everything. And I have a lot of different modalities and I work any style you want. Do you want it firm? Do you want it light? Do you want it gentle? Do you want it strong? I can do all that. So it becomes very difficult to talk about because I can't define what I'm talking about. So I just don't. In the old adage, the confused mind says no. This is what happens when people don't accept any limits on their business. When they try to be everyone to everything, they end up being so confusing. It's so fuzzy, and the confused mind says no. So people walk away. So people are often scared of niching. They have this immense resistance to niching, but once they find their niche, they're not afraid anymore. They're just relieved because it feels so good. So limits, as they show up in niching, they're not the enemy. It's so strange to me because it's exactly the opposite. People think, oh, but this is viscerally the enemy to accept limits, but this is your deepest ally. This is your truest friend, is to pick some sense of limit and boundaries to what you do. It's a really important thing because here's the truth. You don't want to work with everyone anyways. Not everyone would be an ideal client. There's some people you can help really well, some people you can't. There's some kind of products you're really good at making and some you're not so good at making. So why not play to your strengths? Why not have some focus that is going to be most likely to succeed and then really focus on that? It'll make it easier for people to talk about because it's easier to understand it. You'll become really good at that particular thing because you focused on it rather than being just a generalist that's trying to do everything. Limits are not the enemy. Limits are your friend in niching. So I hope that's helpful. We'll be back soon with another idea from the Niching Nest. Take care.